Welcome back to the Oscar Project Podcast, the show where I discuss Oscar-nominated films year by year. I am your host, Jonathan Eacherberg, and today I'm bringing you an interview with Nebojsa Slijepcevic, director of the short film The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, which is currently qualified for the 97th Academy Awards. Before I jump into the interview, please be sure to subscribe to the show in your podcast player so you can get all the newest episodes as soon as they are released. If you like the interview and want to hear more, please consider leaving a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Nebojsa Slijepcevic is a Croatian-born filmmaker whose documentary feature, Srbenka, was shortlisted for the European Film Awards and has won numerous accolades at international film festivals. His documentary, Gangster of Love, won the Audience Award at Zagreb Docs, and he teaches at the Academy of Dramatic Art in Zagreb while pursuing his filmmaking career. He joins me on the podcast to talk about his short film, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, which is currently qualified for the 97th Academy Awards. Nebojsa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
So your film is based on a true story about people on a passenger train that is stopped by paramilitary forces in an ethnic cleansing operation back in 1993. Tell me about where you learned of this incident and why you decided to make a film about it.
Yeah, my film is based on a real event, extremely tragic and horrible war crime that took place in 1993 when civilian train that was on its way from Belgrade to Bar in the remains of the Yugoslavia was entered by Serbian paramilitary forces, and they started taking out civilians who are not Christians, only civilians with Muslim names. And out of more than 500 passengers in this train, only one person dared to confront them. And it is the main hero of our film. His name is Toma Buzov. He lost his life that day, but he will be remembered as a very brave man, a great hero, because he succeeded also to save one young boy from getting executed, from being executed by these criminals. So I learned about this incident 5 years ago from a newspaper article that was written on the 20th anniversary of the crime. And unfortunately, there are many crimes like that in 90s in ex-Yugoslavia. But
Right.
what made this story special for me is two things. First, Toma Buzov, who is the hero of the story, was largely forgotten by that time. And both my producers and me, we felt that he deserves to be remembered because
Sure.
what he did was so selfless and so brave that it is a tragic story, but his spirit and his humanity is very something extremely positive and really worth remembering, and something that can inspire maybe some people to act bravely in the future as well. But also what I recognized in this story is something universal, something that is not only connected to Bosnia or to ex-Yugoslavia or to 1993, something that I can identify with, and I believe many viewers will identify with, and that is the position of witness of a crime. And my camera is also, most of the film, looking not at the victims or at the perpetrators or the killers, but we are watching an innocent witness, somebody who just found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he must decide what to do. He is not threatened himself. He is not Muslim. He's Serb, and he can just pretend that nothing happens, But then the next day, he has to look himself in the mirror. And this is the situation that all of us are in sometimes. Of course, not witnessing war crime, but all of us sometimes witness some injustice or some violent act that is not intended against us. And we must decide what to do. Will we risk our safety and intervene, or will we stay aside and then deal with our guilty consciousness later?
Yeah. And you say, talk about him as a hero figure, but he's at his core, he's just an everyday guy. He's on the train. He didn't set out to be a hero. Tell me a little bit about casting for that role specifically, but also the film in general. You have a kind of a core group of characters in that main train compartment, but then a lot of other people that are the soldiers, the other people outside the train. What was it like filling all that cast out?
I tried to get the best actors that I could. I wanted to. We had many roles, and each of them is significant for me. Of course, there is one pivotal role, and this is role played by Goran Bogdan, who is fantastic actor. He's one of the best actors in the region, and his international audience have seen him, for example, in I think third season of Fargo. So he has a international career as well. And I knew that my camera will be on his close-up for most of the film, and it will be no cutaways in the most critical moments of the film. And I needed someone who can act in extreme close-up with subtlety, but also with great depth, which Goran Bogdan easily does. I've seen him do it in other films, as well. And that's what he did perfectly in this film, because at one moment of the film, there is a moment when he has to decide what to do, and then something breaks inside him, and we see it in his eyes,
Right.
which is really, really touching. And the end of the film. So I really was very happy when Goran agreed to be in my film, and he did really fantastic job. I seen it like for I don't know, 100 times maybe, and I'm still touched when I see
Sure.
his performance
Yeah.
in the last shot. He's fantastic actor. But also we had some interesting choices for other roles. For example, we have Alexis Manenti, who is French actor, but he speaks fluently Serbian because he spent his summers in a seaside, in Croatian seaside, and he was listening to Croatian and Serbian music, rap music, and he learned language by himself. And he's such a great energy on. For me, I never knew what he will exactly do in front of the camera, but I would just give him general directions where to go, and then he would bring something so powerful that sometimes on the set during filming, I would forget to stop the camera, because I would be I would watch his performance on my monitor, and I just wanted to see what will he do next.
Right.
He's a great actor. I love him really. And yeah, many more, like I think 5 or 6 more speaking parts we have in this film. So it was very long casting process, but I think we got to the best.
Fantastic. And now the film takes place on a train, as we mentioned, and obviously back in 1993, it's a very specific point in time. Was there any difficulties in getting the look and feel of that period and being on the train just right for the film?
Yes, it was very demanding, because we needed to find a wagon that looks like it's 1993. And in the end, we found one such car that was already prepared for scrap metal. It was not. It was almost completely ruined. So we needed to renovate it completely, and it couldn't ride on an open train tracks. So we were filming basically on a train station, with some green screens covering the. And we couldn't. So for the shots where the train is in movement, we couldn't go very fast, so it had to be very precise camera movement to get the sense of speed, and still not to ruin the car, in the process.
Right.
And it was a very, very demanding shoot, but because of the very tight space, we wanted to have train full of people, really full of people, and to fit camera on a dolly that goes through corridor. And so we had very precise coordination between extras, actors, camera. I was hiding somewhere on the floor, and it was quite demanding, but also amusing, I would say. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and what sort of other, and you just mentioned a whole bunch of them there. Any other challenges that you faced on the film, on the set, or in post-production? Anything else that you encountered as a challenge throughout making the film?
Well, production went very smooth, because we had a lot of time to prepare. For a whole film, we had 4 days of filming and 2 days of rehearsals before that. But before, for almost a year, I was preparing my shooting board, and I filmed the whole film first with my iPhone, then with my own camera. Then we brought a real camera in a real train, to try all the shots. So by the day of shooting, we were completely ready, But one other thing was very challenging, and that is script writing, because when you deal with a real event, such a tragic event, and that happened not so long ago, 30 years
Yeah.
is recent past, and many people who were on the train will see the film, and also the relatives of the people who were killed from the train will see
Sure.
the film. and the son of Tomo Buzov will see the film. So I felt huge responsibility towards all of them. And so first thing, before even starting to write the film, I contacted son of Tomo Buzov, Darko, through Facebook and asked him for permission to use his father's name and to make the film partially about his father. And he agreed. He was very generous. And then also I found transcripts from the court trials to some of the killers and found all the newspapers articles that I could find. I read more than 1,000 pages, trying to make it as precise, as historically accurate as possible, because the last thing I want is to insult someone who suffered already, or to re-traumatize some people who are victims of the crime.
Yeah. And, the way you're talking about it, it kind of speaks to your background in making documentary films as well. Mentioned some of those at the top. Was there ever temptation to try and make this into a documentary, or was it always destined to be a fictional portrayal of this real event?
Well, from the beginning, we agreed that it should be fiction, although I agree that it can be documentary as well. But my documentaries, I try to make them in direct cinema way. So I don't make documentaries about past events, so only about something that happens in the present, and then I can record with my camera directly. And this, so for this topic, fiction was and live action was obvious choice for me.
Makes sense. Now, we are recording here in late November 2024. Any festivals, any screenings coming up where people can check out the film if they're interested in seeing it?
Actually, there are many festivals, but I can't really follow them all because it was more than 60 festivals in the last couple of months. But we have a Facebook page, we have Instagram page, and all the screenings are on are announced on these pages. So right at this moment, from the top of my head, I can't remember where exactly we play next in the next 2 weeks.
Perfect. Well, we'll put a link to the Facebook and the Instagram so people can follow along and see where it's heading next.
Great, thanks.
Now, I have a couple of questions not specifically related to the film, but before I move on to those, is there anything else you want to touch on about The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent?
Yeah, well, it's a short film, and to talk too much about it is counterproductive, I would say.
Yeah.
So I just hope that people will catch it somewhere. I hope it will be soon on some streaming platform or online. And in the meantime, try to catch it somewhere on festivals. And yeah.
Wonderful. Well, this might be the hardest question I ask, but if you had to pick your top 3 films of all time, what would they be?
Yes, that's a very hard question. I can name you a couple of films that I really, really love. If they're the best of the whole time, I'm not sure. But I know in different times of my life, I was really moved or influenced by these films. And so one of them is a little bit maybe obscure, but 2 of them are maybe everybody could know. So I start from something that everybody might know, and that's Billy Wilder. Who is my I watched Billy Wilder's films from the age of 7 or 6. They would be put on television, during the day, and when I had school in the afternoon, and in the morning I would watch Billy Wilder films, and so I think maybe they pushed me into filmmaking direction, because and to pick one is of his films is very hard, but let's go with the obvious one, and that's Some Like It Hot, which is what made funny film ever made, and then there is another film that I really loved in my adolescence, and then when I started studying filmmaking, that's a film by Milos Forman, who is fantastic filmmaker himself. And my favorite film of his is his Czech film, Fireman's Ball. The one that he, I think because of that film, he had to leave Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at that time, and go to United States. It's extremely funny, but also bitter political satire, really brilliant, And then I pick one documentary that really influenced me later on in life, and I started making my documentary seriously. And it's an early film, I think first film by Viktor Kosakovsky. Viktor Kosakovsky, Russian author of documentaries, and his first film is called Belovy, this is fantastic documentary, and I think in each of my films that I directed, I stole something from him from that film. So it's very important film.
Fantastic, excellent choices. Now, if you could invite any 3 movie characters to your next dinner party, who would they be and why?
Okay, that's funny. So yeah. Well, on dinner party you want to have good time, So I pick some light characters. So I think I would invite Doc from Back to the Future, to talk a little bit about science. That's always a fun topic.
Sure.
I have a 7-year-old son, and his favorite character is Goofy. I have to tell him stories in Goofy voice every night. So I would invite Goofy, to to entertain my son. And I think the third wouldn't be exactly movie character, but someone connected to movies. I would call Hitchcock. I heard that he was great and dinner parties with his jokes, so he would be fun guest to have. So.
I'd be very interested to see him and Goofy talking with each other.
Yeah, me too.
Now, do you have any books you could recommend that you've read recently or that you really enjoy? Could be fiction or nonfiction and don't have to be related to movies at all.
Well, first, I would recommend one Croatian author. He is translated to English, to French. His name is Kristian Novak. He's fantastic. He's maybe the most prominent Croatian novelist at the moment, for me at least. I hope to work on equalization of his novels one day. And also, what I'm reading right now, I spend a lot of time in airplanes. So because I promote my film, and so I read airport literature, and there is something. I'm reading the latest book by Michael Gladwell, which I found on some of the airports, and I like it a lot. It's a Tipping Point Part 2, I think, which is quite fun, and maybe also this summer I enjoyed a lot to spend on the topic of Czech authors. I read some again, 2 authors that I go back every now and then, and it's Josef Škvorecký, Czech author, and Milan Kundera, 2 of them. So yeah, some of my favorites. Yeah.
Wonderful. We'll put some links to those books and those authors so people can check them out if they've never read any of their work. And lastly, you mentioned a little bit of the social media earlier. We'll be sure to put links to those. Any other social media, personal or anything, as well as any other projects that you have lined up going forward?
Yeah, well, I have my Instagram, Facebook. Film has both Instagram and Facebook pages, so I invite everybody to follow us. And I'm working on a feature fiction film, but it goes slowly at the moment because I'm quite busy with promotion of the film. But I guess in the next couple of months, it will take some speed, and then I can talk more about this project. I don't want to talk too early because I'm superstitious a little bit when it comes to projects.
Completely understand. Not a problem. Well, Nebojsa, thank you so much for the time today. Thank you for sharing your film. Really appreciated getting to speak with you and learning a little bit about what went into making the film.
Thank you for a very nice talk.
Thank you again to my guest today, Nebojsa Slijepcevic. His short film, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, is currently qualified for the 97th Academy Awards. The Oscar Project podcast is written and produced by me, Jonathan Eacherberg, with editing assistance from Joshua Eacherberg. If you want more movie coverage, check out the Oscar Project online at theoscarproject.substack.com, and be sure to come back for my next episode where I will be speaking with Arya Subphase, director of the animated short film Tomorrow. Until then, I hope to see you at the movies.